I love cream-based soups, but don't want the excess richness. I lighten mine with a thickened chicken stock. If you love mushrooms, you're gonna love my Brandy wild mushroom soup. Hey guys, so first to get started on our soup, we're going to melt some butter and then we're going to prep our green onions. So anytime I use green onions, let me move my mushrooms so you can see what I'm doing here. Anytime I use green onions, I love to use both parts of the onion, meaning the whites, light green, and the dark green. So I saute the light greens and then I use the dark green part of the onion as my garnish. So I'm just going to slice that. Work on one onion, so you just want to dice one onion, and we have some rosemary. So this is the beginning part of our soup. This is so elegant. If you're having a dinner party around the holidays or really any time of the year, especially when it's nice and warm and you love enjoying that delicious soup. This is a hearty soup, but I lighten it up with, you'll see how I do it, with the stock. And it's really absolutely perfect. There's nothing worse than a soup that's just loaded with cream. It's just not necessary. So I'm gonna prep my ingredients, start sauteing them, and get this soup going. Salt and pepper, remember, always season every step of the way. So this needs about 2-3 minutes. So while that's sauteing, I went ahead and prepped most of my mushrooms. So mushrooms, never submerge them in cold water. That is a no-no. So here's what you want to do. Just take a damp cloth, heavy-duty paper towel, and you just want to wipe off the tops. That's it. Never submerge them because they're little sponges. They'll grab onto that water, and then they steam when you saute them, and then you lose that beautiful earthy flavor. So I'm just going to slice my shiitakes and slice my creminis. I'm also going to use some oyster, which sort of is reminiscent of crab. It has that texture. I love that. So this is a really meaty soup. So if you're a vegetarian, instead of chicken stock, which I'm going to use chicken stock at the end, you may want to use just vegetable stock, which is perfectly fine. Just choose a really good one because your soup is only as good as your stock. So choose a really good one. All right, so they are sliced. Now for my oyster mushrooms, I don't like to chop these. These I just simply tear. You just want to tear them. I found that when I slice them or chop them, they sort of disintegrate, and we don't want them to disintegrate. We want to know that these are oyster mushrooms in there. These are good wild mushrooms. Okay, we're going to just toss them right into the pot with the remainder of the butter. Okay, so this soup is certainly not calorie-free, but everything in moderation. We do have a good amount of butter in here, but I do control the heavy cream at the end. It's still a lot more healthful than full cream. All right, so you just want to melt the remainder of the butter and then add all the mushrooms. We're going to saute these until tender, about 7-8 minutes. Now I have a really big pot for these mushrooms because I don't want them to steam. If I used a smaller pot, a 4-quart pot totally could fit the liquid volume of this soup, but then all the mushrooms would steam. And I want them to get a nice little browning on them. All right, so we got that beautiful browning, nice and caramelized. Now we're gonna make our roux. So this is what's thickening our chicken stock. So you wanna sprinkle a little bit of flour. So we have that fat already in the bottom of the pan from our initial melting of the butter. You just want to take your spoon, make sure it's all hydrated, nice and moist so we don't have that raw flour flavor. Then we're going to add some brandy. So this just really elevates it to an elegant soup. Okay, flour's nice and moistened. I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit. Always be careful when you're adding brandy. It's flammable. So I need 2/3 of a cup. It's a good amount of brandy. So I'm going to measure it out. And then you just want to reduce this until it concentrates. So all those little beautiful brown bits from sauteing the mushrooms are just going to roll right into the flavor of the soup. And then it also creates that roux with the flavor. Beautiful, tightens up really quickly. And then our chicken stock. So you want a good quality chicken stock, one that you love. We're going to bring this to a boil on medium-high heat, reduce it to a simmer, let it hang out and build great flavor for about 25 minutes. Keep stirring. We want to make sure all those flavors in the flour and the stock come together. We want it to be velvety, nice and smooth. So it's been about 25 minutes. This sure looks delicious. All right, so I just want to give it a taste. We just want to adjust any salt and pepper. Hot, hot, hot. Oh my gosh, these mushrooms are so delicious, nice and earthy. A little bit more salt, pepper. And now just to finish it, so we have this beautiful velvety texture. Tripping over my tongue. But just to round it out a little bit, I'm adding a touch of cream. So it's just about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, just to round it out a little bit. Now you just want to turn the heat off. Never want to bring any heavy cream to a boil because it can break. So just cut the heat, add the cream, stir it. It'll warm through. And that's it. That's our elegant, beautiful wild mushroom soup. All right, so let's give it a taste. So we have our green onions from earlier, so this is our garnish right on top. I like a nice little crack of black pepper. It's gonna be hot. It is so delicious. It's creamy, but yet it's not so rich and so dense. It's flavorful. Those mushrooms are absolutely delicious. For this recipe, head over to the newspaper's website. I'm Shereen with Cook This. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.